No, 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 no. This team has the talent it needs to get all the way to the Super Bowl. But between a lack of player instinct and a fundamental flaw in the game plan against the Titans, the Chiefs let one get away. Let's get into the film room. Welcome back to RGR. I'm Ryan and I'm annoyed. I'm going rogue on the Chiefs and the NFL and whatever else I can come up with. And there's plenty to complain about this week. I'm going to get into the plays. I'll do it like last week where I'll just kind of line them up back to back to back. But want to start off the top and just talk about the fact that when I watch this film, especially the All-22, you can see that this team has the athletic talent that it needs to do its job, to get through these games, to beat teams like the Patriots, to get to a Super Bowl and win it. Talent isn't the problem. There are certain things they don't do well, and every team has that. The bigger issue is not playing with instinct, not being aggressive enough. And this particular week, it really came down to the coaching staff because there were some issues with not only effort, a lot of guys not tackling, not pursuing, not living up to their assignments. Gap integrity is a concept from Pop Warner on up. This team seems to have lost again. I don't know why. Again, I think it feels to me like they're sitting back waiting for their MVP to save them, and they just can't do that. But even before that, we have to talk about the coaching staff because some decisions that were made really affected the way this team could play. And when you go back and you look at the film and you look at the snaps that were played, it's not just that they elected to leave Pennell on the sidelines. That's ridiculous when you know you're facing a Tennessee team that wants to run it down your throat. You have to have him in that lineup, and you have to have him able to play a significant amount of snaps because that's what he's good at, is stopping the run. And for some reason, they felt that wasn't going to be that important. I don't know why. I'd love to have an explanation of that, but I don't have one. So I have to look at the film and see what it says. And that's not the only problem. Not only is Pennell not in there, but you're rotating guys. And you're rotating guys that are lighter and more apt to pass rush than run block. But that's not the only problem. Not only is Pennell not in there to be in the rotation, but the guys you are rotating, you're leaning on guys that are more apt to pass rush well than defend the run well. And that's a problem. When you look at the snaps, Noddy only played a little bit over half of the snaps. That's not enough. They were in base, not enough. They played too much nickel, and if you're going to play nickel, you have to protect those linebackers. For some reason, Colin Saunders played less than Ivy, which makes no sense whatsoever. So you have that trio that we talked about against the Vikings of Noddy, Saunders, and Reggie Ragland, who only played 17 snaps against the biggest running back in the league. Again, a decision that makes no sense. Those three all should have been emphasized this week and were not. Through various decisions and various play calls, all three of those players had their snaps diminish. And that's not a recipe to beat this team that really is, for all intents and purposes, a team that is only strong in one singular aspect of the game. They have to run to win. They don't have the option otherwise. And yet the team decided to make these changes to what had been working. And I am working on some analytics that I'll be able to show you, hopefully in a written form, and I'll definitely include it in the Friday game plan to show you what has to happen to apply to this next team going forward, because the Chargers can run the ball as well. But those decisions led up to putting players in position where they can't perform up to their maximum. When there's only two linebackers on the field, they can't defend the run as well as when there's three, yet you don't play enough base. When you have the more stout lineup, and really from this point forward, the starting lineup should be Frank on one end, Chris Jones on the other, with Saunders and Noddy in the middle. That's it. There is no other combination that can start you off in the game by getting stops in the run game to get you in good position. That should be it. That's the way it needs to be, and luckily they have the versatility with these guys to be able to run that lineup pretty consistently. And then it becomes about rotating in. And nothing against Ivy. He can rush the passer and has done that some, as we've seen. Pennell has to be the first guy in on that interior DT position. Doesn't matter which side. Doesn't make any difference. He's got to be in there to stop that run. Every team, whether they're a passing first team or a team that likes balance, they're all going to run at you over and over and over because they saw what happened against these Titans. So you can expect even teams that aren't running teams, and watch out for those Raiders with Josh, they're going to run at you a lot. You got to be able to stop that and take that away from them so that you can then play the rest of your defense with the plan that you want, with the scheme that you want, and still be able to get some exotic pressure. Pressure is another thing that fell off this week, down to 13, and part of that was obviously with the injury to Agba, without Okafor out there, some of that plays in. But it's also the fact that a team doesn't allow you to pressure the quarterback when they're only throwing 19 times because they don't have to throw. That is really the key that comes down to what happened in this ballgame. So, with that said, let's get into some examples and see what actually went on. I want to get started on the positive side, and this is the Chiefs' play of the day. This is the pass to Mecole Hardman that's going to go for the long touchdown, but want to set this up, kind of a unique look from both teams. So you have Travis Kelce split out here wide at the top, and a 3 by wide receiver look here, but Demarcus Robinson's in really tight. He's actually going to help out in the pass block. One of their stronger wide receivers, that makes a lot of sense. But the way that he's going to be used is due to what the defense is doing, and that is that they have front four spread out over here very much to the weak side of the formation in an overload with just pass rusher Harold Landry out here. He's going to take the wide angle to try to get Cam Irving around the end. So DeMarcus is actually going to help out and then release, and he's got a DB across from him here. We've got a lurking spy on Mahomes, as well as the individual matchups on the wide receivers. This is Pringle down at the bottom, and this is Hardman here. We're going to see as we roll forward what it's going to give them is that the 5 linemen are going to be a little bit overwhelmed with where they're needing to go. Again, watch DeMarcus as he helps out on the pass rusher right here. Gets a good pop, and you'd think that's sending Mahomes right into. At this point, this is kind of walled off. We've got a little pressure from the one outside, and Cam Irving's battling to get back to Harold Landry. Mahomes is going to have to step up, and that's going to take him right into the teeth of a stunt. We'll look at that at the other angle. And so this is what drives Mahomes to take this kind of leaping athletic throw. And as he rolls it right to Hardman, and Hardman just has turned his body to beat his initial defender. Now there's 2 that look like they should be able to close in and take him. But this is where we forget that Mecole Hardman is very, very fast. Nobody's as fast as Tyreek Hill, but Mecole Hardman is pretty close. If my numbers are correct, he's less than a tenth of a second slower, and this shows it. From here, 2 defenders, he's going to out-accelerate them in 7 yards. And bam, he's got them both. He continues just ahead for the pylon. This is the big play. This is what he can do when given an opportunity. I think you're going to see more from this as it goes on, and when we look at the other angle, we're going to see how this got done. Again, the backside, this is 4 pass rushers here. They're going to line up on these guys 4 sides, but they all have to shift. The way that they have to block this up is to move over to their right, to left of this screen, in order to shift out for this edge rusher who's going to be coming around and will eventually get some pressure with Schwartz. Right now, everybody looks manned up. Daryl's looking backside because he realizes that there are 3 defenders here, and there's only 2 guys that could even chip them. So if they were going to send kind of a DB blitz, this is where it would come from. So Daryl's checking out these 2 DBs, one who's still flat-footed after the snap. And you get a little bit here. Now 24 drops into a spy, and he's just looking at Mahomes. Mahomes is reading who's going where and just how much action they're going to get out of DeMarcus trying to make this chip. And Cam Irving hasn't gotten enough depth at this point. He's going to realize that this edge rusher is coming all the way around, and he's going to turn and have to get back there in a hurry. When an offensive tackle has to turn his shoulders like that, he's already lost. And this is going to flush Mahomes. You see Mahomes is stepping up into the pocket now against that spy. And as he rolls forward, he lets the ball fly. And right here, Hardman, amazingly, you would think it was a seam route from the way that the play action developed, but he actually stops. This is a stop route. He turns around, makes the catch, and that's when he accelerates away. Didn't even need a block from the rest of the receivers. He just turned the jets on, and he was gone. Now this second play was a critical one. This is the 3rd and 2 that they ended up taking a sack on because the defense was prepared for what way they were doing. They got a little bit too cute. A slow developing play like a tight end screen that we're about to see just takes too long. This is a defense that you've been moving the ball on, and you have the opportunity to just hit them real hard, real fast. And I'll tell you why. When you look at it, you see that from the center over, the Titans have 6 defenders on that side of the ball to match up with what are 5 blockers plus Damian. In that particular scenario, you're only going 5 on 6. You know that you have a disadvantage trying to run this tight end screen to this side. This should have been either an RPO. I can't be certain by the fake because it's not very well performed. Maybe it wasn't an RPO, but if it was, this is a decision by the quarterback that was incorrect. You can't do this when you know on a screenplay that you're already outnumbered. It may have just been a call. We won't know that until the end, but take a look at the opposite side. And what you have is off coverage here, tight coverage against a guy that can block fairly well. And then you have man-on-man with these 2 linemen. All you have to do is get 2 yards about here. And you'll see as the play rolls, had they actually just gone with the handoff, Damian Wilson gets this first down in a pinch. Not a problem at all. As they move forward, Cam comes down, gives him a good block. But you see that these guys are all reacting doubled on the tight end. Blockers are not getting much leak yet. But right here, Damian, had he had the ball in his hand, has 1 guy to beat at this point. And Cam's going to come out and actually lay hand on him too. And as he does, right here, had he been carrying, that's a first down, first and foremost. You look at Tyreek is doubled. You could try to deliver a ball all the way back to Robinson, but for his first game back, I don't know that Mahomes is really ready to do that. And what you see in here is that blocking is set up all right, but you have 2 guys putting pressure on you. You have a trailer on Blake Bell right here. Just not enough to get this play done. This should have been a run to the opposite side, to the weak side where the defense wasn't, and it would have gotten you a lot more yardage. Now the run defense took a step back against the Titans. We've discussed a number of reasons why earlier in this video. Part of it is personnel, but part of it is attention to detail and execution by the players that are on the field. And that brings me to this play. This is the touchdown where Derrick Henry just waltzes into the end zone. And there's a couple of things going on here, but from this angle, I want to point out one in particular. You've got 5 offensive linemen, tight end, another tight end, Jonnu Smith, wide receiver, and Henry. Unbalanced formation, but nothing that should be too difficult to deal with, except for the fact that while they have 11 players, the Chiefs have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This touchdown was scored because they didn't get enough men on the field and they didn't execute their assignments. Maybe that plays into what we see from Hitchens, who just inexplicably does not attack the runner. From when we look at the opposite angle, what we're going to see is that the way that they're lined up is doable, even a man down. This is a play that could have been defensed, because right now you have stacked with Breeland out here on this wide receiver. You have Tano out wide, Damian Wilson, then you have the down lineman, but amazingly over here between Noddy and Chris Jones, the B gap. The gap that is not the closest to a straight path for the running back, but the next best thing, is wide open. And when you look at where assignments ought to be, it comes down to match up here, gap, 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 gap. Hitchens, B gap, Jones, outside gap, contain. The opposite corner is just hanging out here doing his own thing. Not a problem. But this is still doable, even a man short at this point. Now, if they go out in a pattern, that's a whole different story because this tight end's going to run away from coverage. But as the play rolls forward, what you see is that it really isn't much of a deal, because as Derrick Henry receives the ball, Anthony Hitchens is a deer in headlights. These gaps are pretty much covered. Noddy's doing a decent job. You see the lineman fighting down against the angle that they're being blocked. Henry's planted his foot, and he's coming downhill. Right now, what Anthony Hitchens should be is way over here covering this gap. Instead, he looks like he's expecting Henry to go over the top of the formation and gets caught. As this lineman peels off, he's now sealed. It's an easy walk-in touchdown, not a problem. This is both a miscalculation by the staff to not get enough players out there, and by the players to not know whether they're supposed to be out there. And then finally, one linebacker that's supposed to be a leader on this team not executing his assignment. Well, that's what I've found. That's what I see. I want to know what you guys think. Leave me the comments below. Hit the thumbs up. If you're new here, hit the sub, hit the notification. Especially you have to hit that little drop down on mobile so you know when something new goes up. Really important. We're growing a lot as I'm back from vacation. Honestly, there's so much to talk about. So thanks for all of your time. Make sure you hit the comments. I'll be back with the game plan on Friday and hopefully have a little bit more for you. Please check out these videos, and I'll talk to you next time.